Hi, everyone. Hi. No one's ever introduced me as an Om factor before. Driving into work yesterday, I did say to myself, not exactly Om, but I did say back to the basics as I was driving myself to work, and it was be fully present, breathe in your body, love the person in front of you, connect with space, do what needs to be done next. Just do that today, just that. And when I got into Sounds True, we have about 100 people who work at the company and about 20 dogs. And I found every third or fourth person started to cry. And I was like, wow, this is going to be quite a interesting day at Sounds True. And we ended up having a 15-minute silent gathering where it was optional, non-partisan, optional gathering. And we just sat in silence together. This is the Om, my Om. I'm Oming for you guys here. Underneath what I'm saying, there's an Om soundtrack. You can hear it. So we sat in silence together, and then afterwards a couple of comments were made spontaneously, and that was it. But probably about a third of the room, people just cried in the silent space together, which is, I think, what we needed as a community, was just to be able to come together and have an open-ended, loving space that people could sit in. And I noticed being here with all of you tonight and hearing the different people who came forward and talked about what they were doing, and hearing you, Bruce, I felt in a way also in a loving, open-ended community with you, and the power of that, the power of being connected to people when you're grieving, the power of being connected to people when you have to also, at some point, pick ourselves up and act incredibly creatively, incredibly resourcefully, amplified by each other, working with each other in as collaborative of ways as we can and as empowered a way as we can. So I'm happy to be here with all of you tonight and to do anything I can to help us all bring our creative voices and talents out more and more and more during a time when clearly that's what's needed, is our full hearts and our full engagement. So tonight I want to tell you a little bit about where Sounds True is today, 31 and a half years after the company began in 1985, and how we've really become a digital products company. Right before this presentation, as I was driving here, I called our CFO and I said, I'm just curious, this question I've never asked. I should know the answer to this. It might come up. I'm doing this presentation for this Boulder Digital Arts Group. How much of our product sales are digital products? Now, interesting that I just didn't know that number off the top of my head. Probably more interesting that our CFO didn't know the number off the top of his head either. But he said, hold on, I'll get that number for you and tell you. And at this point in Sounds True's growth as a business, we have a small events business. So let's leave that out, where we do in-person events and spiritual teachers present workshops and retreats, etc. So let's leave that part of our business out. The rest of our business is all based around publishing. And we publish both books, audio programs, we have a small music label, we have instructional video programs, and then we also have these online courses and online summits and year-long journeys and 41-day journeys that are delivered on a mobile app, and I'll talk more about all of these products. So that's the majority of our, so 65% of our total business is digital products today. So that's the answer to that question. There's two big ways that we deliver our programs. One is we deliver them direct to customers. So we go direct. And we have an email list at this point of about 700,000 people who have opted in to hear about all of the different new releases from Sounds True. So that's about half of our sales. And in that channel, 90% of our revenue comes from digital products. 90%. So of all the products we sell direct to a customer. Then the other portion of our business is what we call the trade portion, where we're selling to resellers. So we sell obviously to Amazon and to Barnes & Noble, and we also sell to the big audiobook company, audible.com. And through that channel, it's more like 40%. So 90% of our direct business is digital, and 40% of our business of products that are resold. And the main reason for that is people still buy physical books. Mm-hmm. People like physical books. They like them. E-books you'll sell one e-book for every 4 physical books. And that's not particularly changing. It's not growing. Of course, there were a lot of predictions several years ago that the e-book market, that's not happening. So it's relatively flat for the last couple of years. So 25% ebooks, the rest physical books. But in the other part of our business, in the audio world, in the music world, where we're selling direct, everything is going digital. And if we try to sell direct to a customer, they don't want us to pay shipping. They don't want a physical good. They want our digital products. So we have been innovating heavily in the direct side of our business, what digital products we offer. So the big breakthrough for us was when we started offering online courses. And online courses are a huge part now of our direct business. So often what we'll do is we'll film with an author in a small space, kind of like this, in front of an audience. We'll film a workshop. And we may make it an in-person event, so we're earning revenue from the people who come and attend the event, but then we're also filming it. And then we take that content and we turn it into an 8-week course. We add other features for the person who's then taking that course online, including a question and answer live webinar with that author that the author can do over Skype from their home. Other features where they can come together and meet in a small group, which lots of people like. I mean, I could go on and on because each online course is unique and has its own unique features depending on what the author is trying to communicate. We created something called the Awareness Training Institute with Jack Kornfield and Tara Brach. And what was very important to them within the Awareness Training Institute was to have the training happen within a relational field online so that people were meeting in a small mentoring group with a trained mentor. And we've also worked where people meet up one-to-one with a mentor as part of the online course. People are able to keep an online journal and write questions for reflection in their journal. We have a practice timer, so you're able to time your meditation or mindfulness sessions, whatever they might be, if that's appropriate to the course. So that gives you a sense. So online courses have been a big part of how we've been growing our digital products to our customers. Another thing we've been doing that has been a big surprise how successful it's been are these online summits. You've probably heard a lot about them. They work. They're still working for Sounds True. You know, I've heard predictions, well, you know, online summits, people are going to be sick of these things. How long can they last? I don't know, but what I would say right now is this year we did a neuroscience training summit and a meditation summit and something called Psychotherapy 2.0, which was training for psychotherapists. And next year in January, we're doing an energy healing summit. We're doing the self-acceptance summit. And you know, we have we were incredibly successful this year, and we're really excited about what's happening next year. And what I love about the summit, actually, is that if people can come within a 24-hour broadcast period, they can experience and attend what you're doing for free. So it's great. You have to opt in, of course, and you have to give your email. And I'm going to talk more about that because having an email gate for events at Sounds True, this is really, or an email gate for free content that we're giving away, this is really how we've been able to grow our list to 700,000 names. It was just 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, that we were only at 300,000 email names. So we've experienced a lot of growth through having really valuable content and valuable online learning experiences and summits like this that people want to be a part of. And it's reasonable to ask, as a trade, we're going to give you 30 of the best meditation teachers in the world today. They're each going to teach you a practice from their tradition and explain how that tradition is unique. And we're asking for you to give us your email name so you can have free attendance. Okay, fine. And then here's the interesting part. Would you like to keep these 30 sessions that just happened and, of course, receive all of these bonus gifts? Wow. And these other bonus gifts, and another bonus gift, and one more before it's too late. Would you like to buy all of this? And normally it costs $297, but we're marking it down for $197. People buy it. A lot of people buy it. Now, I'm joking about the marketing, and I'm going to make a loop over here to make a point, which is, at first, I was allergic to this kind of marketing. To me, it felt really infomercial-y, and it didn't feel congruent with the content of what we were doing. And whether it's a summit or it's even our online courses and how we're selling them, to be able to talk, why do we have to talk about bonus gifts? We're talking about it in and of itself is the most important training anybody could have. Do I really have to, and do I have to put a slash through it and make it $100 off if they buy by a certain time? I don't want to do this. So this is where I was maybe 3-4 years ago. And then I saw a lot of other companies start working with authors who were, in my opinion, 25% of how fabulous the Sounds True authors are. Many of whom I just thought, these people, they don't have the training. They don't have 50 years of practice. And I saw the actual content of what some of these other offerings were, and I'm like, those things are shot on terrible film, or they're done as a telecourse, blah, blah, blah. And I started hearing the numbers that people were getting from using these marketing techniques that I found loathsome. And I had to open up to find a way to do it that would feel in integrity for Sounds True. And I had to, move a few steps, if you will. I did. I had to move a few steps and say, there's a way to do this marketing that's skillful, that's honest, and that takes advantage of some of these tactics. And our content will reach more people, and we'll make more money and be able to grow and do more of these kinds of programs. Just do it with taste. Don't say things that aren't true. Don't overpromise. You have the best content, have marketing that uses these tactics that work, but make them our own. And we were fortunate to start working with a digital marketing consultant who really understood our audience. He understood our audience because he's part of our audience. Mm-hmm. He's a member of our audience. He understands our authors, but he's also been going to all of these marketing training labs and master circles, and he knows about all the various funnel marketing tactics. Maybe you've heard about this funnel marketing, which is part of what I'm describing here, where you're giving away free content, you're getting people's permission because they're saying in giving you their email name that they're interested in this content, and then you have permission to email them several times after. This works, let's try it. And I have to tell you, it revolutionized our ability to successfully sell digital products at Sounds True. And today, I actually don't feel in conflict with what we're doing. I feel good about it. I stand in it. I feel proud of it. Okay, so we have online courses. We have these summits. I ran into somebody at a party here in Boulder who said to me, it's so interesting what you're doing now. It's really a time when you're bringing together so many different people on a topic. And that's what people want. They don't want just one author anymore. They want all these different people on a topic. And I thought to myself, that's such a curious view. I've never seen the summit model that way. I mean, she was just someone who was watching Sounds True's growth on our email list. And she thought we were doing it because of something happening in the culture at large, that having multiple perspectives is now of value in a new kind of way than maybe it was. The reason that the summit model we were doing it was each one of those people brings with them their social media following, their email list, their participation. They help us by telling everybody that they're participating in the summit. So the actual reason we were doing it, I wasn't thinking through this lens of, oh, people are living in a time where they want to hear 30 different views on meditation and not just study with one teacher. Interesting. But I think it bears out that that is something that people want. For example, with this neuroscience training summit we did, I'll take that as an example because it's an example from this past year. It was so successful that we're repeating the summit again in 2017. And I think what people found, the audience response was, I really want to know what the latest discoveries are and how they'll be practical in my life. And I'm interested in neuroscientific studies about parenting, about memory, about accelerated learning, all of these different fields. And here it was all gathered with the best experts, 20 of these experts. Okay, interesting. That would be, we're doing a lot of the work for the audience by gathering these people together. Okay, courses, summits. Now here's another model we've been using that's been really important, which is a membership site. So Sounds True runs and manages Eckhart Tolle Now, which is a digital subscription where people pay approximately $20 a month and have access to 350 hours of Eckhart Tolle's teachings that have all been captured on video, and every month new content is included from wherever Eckhart is and he's talking and the retreats that he gives. That content is then loaded up and you have unlimited access to all the hours in the archive for $20 a month. Well, Eckhart has a huge worldwide audience. There are people who are subscribers to Eckhart Tolle Now from over 100 different countries. It's amazing. I mean, he really is a world teacher. And it's a much better way for people to relate if they see Eckhart Tolle as their touchstone of sanity, their quote-unquote om, if you will, their return to home. And I think a lot of people do experience listening to him that way. Buying one kind of a la carte audio program here or there is nowhere near as supportive and as interesting to say, oh, it's just 20 bucks a month and I can have unlimited access, and it's all of the content has also been tagged and is searchable. There's also a function that I think is really interesting. It's called community clips. So anyone in the community can go in and pick a clip that's anywhere under 8 minutes and identify it as a special moment and send it to a friend, and then the community can talk about it and make comments about this particular clip. So it's also a place for people worldwide who are interested in Eckhart's teachings to communicate with each other about what's meaningful to them and why and what's happening in their life. So memberships are also another category of digital products that have been important, it sounds true. Now just this past year, we did an experiment. It was called Adyashanti Weekly. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with Adyashanti, but he's a spiritual teacher who is a dear friend to Sounds True and to me. And he created a subscription. So for 52 weeks, you get a 45-minute audio from Adya, delivered each week. So it's an audio delivery of a new teaching every week for a year. And that also has been a successful program for us. And it's a way for people to connect in with a teacher they really like. And every week they're going to get something new from this person. Now, one of the biggest surprise successes, so this is yet another digital format, and you can see we're experimenting. We're trying stuff. We're trying all kinds of things. And what's good about that is, let's just say that the summit model stops working too many people have put on too many summits. Everybody's like, I'm allergic to summits. But, well, fine. Maybe we'll go membership then. We'll do more memberships. Maybe we'll do more courses. And so for us as a business, having all these different digital formats that we're experimenting with makes me feel strong in our business, because we're getting a lot of data and we're going to do more of what works, less of what doesn't, and we're well positioned depending on where things go. Okay, so we did an experiment this past year that was creating a year-long community for people who are interested in ceremonial practice and shamanic practice, and it's called the Year of Ceremony. And each full moon, people gather all over the world, and this is also something that had worldwide appeal. You pay $27 a month, and for $27 a month, you come on and you participate in a full moon ceremony that supports healing and transformation in your life and in the world with a different shamanic or ceremonial teacher. And there's a 30-minute talk followed by a 30-minute ceremony that everyone's participating in. Most people come on live, but of course you can also attend via the archival program if you miss it and still do the ceremony. And then there's a 30-minute Q&A with the teacher, and then people are able to break into small groups and speak to each other and share their experience if they want. Now, interestingly, only about 10% of the people actually stay and have a discussion in small groups after the 90-minute webinar broadcast that includes the ceremony. But I think for that 10% of the people who are doing it, they're finding it very valuable and useful, and so we're continuing to offer that function. So that's really interesting, Year of Ceremony. And it was so successful that we're doing it again. So there'll be Year of Ceremony 2. So we started it with just 1 year, but now we're moving, the community wants to keep going, and we're gonna go out and re-market it again and have a new audience come in and join for year 2. And we did something pretty cool. We made a little film. It's about an hour and a half long, actually. But 3 of the main teachers of the first Year of Ceremony, 2 of them were already in Santa Fe, and we flew another gentleman from Florida, and the 3 of them were together, and about 5 people from Sounds True happily got in a couple of cars with all of their equipment and drove down. I was like, this is a better assignment than I usually get, and made a video of a very powerful ceremony. And it was all done in like a yurt style setting that had lots of altars and lights and the whole thing. And they also, each of the authors talked about what the power of ceremony is and why it matters, but they actually did a ceremony that they captured on film. So this is our opt-in gift. So this is what I mean about creating the funnel. So a certain number of people opt in to receive that video as their free gift. And then those are the people that we then feel we have permission to say, hey, let me tell you, this Year of Ceremony thing is going to be starting in 30 days. And there are bonus gifts. I mean, I'm kind of joking, but that's the kind of thing we say. And there are bonus gifts, actually. Each author, in addition to doing a ceremony, gives a bonus gift. They give a bonus gift of like a trance-inducing CD that they've created that you can download, or an article that they wrote, or a dialogue that they had with somebody on video, something like that. And we make it, what's the word? Yeah. Our digital marketing guru called it a crushing offer. That was like, you have to create a crushing offer. And we've created, when we look at each, whether it's a course or it's a summit or it's a membership, it's like, is this a crushing offer? But load something else on. Is this really what somebody wants? Each one has to be a crushing offer. Okay, so we're launching this year coming up in January. I'm really happy about the timing. And I think it's needed, and I think it will be very successful. We're launching a new online community called the Year of Mindfulness. And we have truly many of the best mindfulness teachers participating, including John Kabat-Zinn, as well as Jack Kornfield and Tara Brach, and Kristen Neff, and Richard Miller, and Sharon Salzberg, Reggie Ray, Shinzen Young. I mean, it's an incredible collection of teachers who want to be part of this. And they'll take people through a whole year of not just mindfulness practice, but bringing it into our life. So how do we, in a certain month, we'll focus on mindful exercise and mindful walking. In another month, we'll focus on mindful eating. In another month, we'll focus on working with emotions with mindfulness. So you take a journey through a whole year, such that at the end of the year, you're in a different place in terms of how you live your life with mindfulness, and the community all around the world. Are you getting the crushing offer? It's feeling really compelling. No, I mean, it is. It's very compelling. And here's part of what makes it a crushing offer. We're giving everybody, just for signing up, a free copy of something called Mindfulness Daily, which brings me to another kind of new digital product that we've created at Sounds True. Mindfulness Daily is what we call a journey. It's a 40-day journey that takes less than 10 to 15 minutes. So it's 10 to 15 minutes a day for 40 days. And it's delivered on your mobile device or on the computer. So there's an app interface for it. And for 40 days, you'll get a different lesson from Jack Kornfield and Tara Brach. And that gives you a short mindfulness practice that you do that day. And this is a product that we priced at $37, so it's inexpensive. And we really wanted this gateway product to reach as many people as possible to help them with this 40-day transformation process. And so, one of the big, what would I call it, meteors that came into the spiritual teaching field was the success of Headspace, which maybe many of you are familiar with. But Headspace is an app that focuses on these daily teachings, and it's a subscription model, but it's daily meditation teachings. And what Sounds True learned from the success of Headspace, which is why we created Mindfulness Daily, and we're in the process of creating more of these journeys, is that people like short and daily, short and daily, short and daily. And the kind of teaching format that Sounds True's historically been known for is more like long and deep. I myself was trained in meditation by doing month-long retreats, short and daily. This is kind of like my view of when I talked about the marketing and how I was uncomfortable with some of these marketing tactics. My first response to short and daily is, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. Come on. People have their attentions, we shouldn't cater to the short attention span of people. We should, get them to turn their devices off and learn how to actually, and rest, concentrate for long periods of time. How about that? And the feedback was, Tami, why don't you meet people where they are? What they want is short and daily. It's working, and people find it really helpful, and it's creating these breaks in what's otherwise a long sentence for many people. The day is like one long, uninterrupted, unpunctuated sentence. Give them a break. Give them a 10-minute break that's meaningful where they are, which is on their mobile phone. And so, I came around to this. You're maybe seeing a theme here. That often, people joke, it Sounds True, that I'm an aversive type, which means I first always see what's wrong. And then it takes me a while to warm up and see what's possible. But short and daily is, I think, a very important message about where the audience, what they want. And when we published Mindfulness Daily, which only came out in August, so it's a new product for us to release, this 40-day, less than 15 minutes a day, there are a bunch of people at Sounds True who are millennials, who work both in our web development department and other departments at the company. And several of them said to me, this is the first program that Sounds True's released that I can actually recommend to my friends. They're like, they're not going to listen to your 9-hour Pema Chodron program, Tami. I can't hand them 9 hours and ask them to listen to it. They won't. They'll think, what are you talking about? But I can send them a free subscription to this app, and they'll check it out. And the interface is cool, and this I can give this to my friends. And that really got my attention in terms of going more in that direction. So talked about these journeys. Now another thing we're doing is we're creating our first teacher training certification program online. And this is also with Jack Kornfield and Tara Brach. and we'll be creating more teacher training programs in the future. But this is for people to become certified in being mindfulness training instructors. And there's an application process. We're doing the program live in 2017. So in 2017, we'll have an audience of 300 people who have gone through this application process. We announced this program, and within, we had no idea if we would sell out, we had no idea how it would go. And we only have 300 seats, and within 2 weeks we had 700 applications. Wow. Which I thought was just, there's clearly a demand. And what we're telling all of the people who aren't making it into the in-person training is that there's going to be an online version. And we haven't even marketed it. We barely marketed this. And then the online version will take this, over these 3 retreats, we'll gather something like 100 hours of video content from Jack and Tara doing this teacher training. And in addition to the 100 hours of video content, which will then be put into bite-sized pieces for a 2-year training online, people will meet with mentors and meet with mentor groups online. And people are required to do a silent meditation retreat as well. So there are different pieces that make this teacher training work. And then you have to graduate, and there are certain graduation specifications. But the positive thing here is that people all over the world are going to have a chance to be trained as mindfulness meditation instructors by 2 of the best teachers, which is, I think, what as you can see, that's part of what really turns me on. Because part of what I saw was people coming into the web teaching space who weren't at this for 4 or 5 plus decades, like some of the teachers Sounds True has historically worked with, who are coming in, gathering a lot of audience and doing all kinds of trainings. And I was like, we need to make sure that the teachers who are really have gone through the most rigorous training themselves are the people who are offering this, but they need our help to be able to do it successfully online, because they're not, innovating and capturing themselves left, right, and center. And, we are going to need to help them do that to be successful. So I think that gives you a sense of kind of the digital learning environment and the products. I talked a little bit about how our marketing as a company has changed. For the longest time, for people who are familiar with Sounds True, we published a direct mail catalog. At a certain point, we mailed 3 million direct mail catalogs a year. And it was probably about 6 or 7 years ago when we had the death of the direct mail catalog. And I had 15 people, and our writers and our artists drinking scotch, telling me that we couldn't let this thing die. And I was like, well, then you pay for it. It's dying. It's dying. There's got to be a way. There's got to be a way to keep, because we loved our direct mail catalog. But and I think this is, when I came up with a title for this talk, it was something to the effect of staying true to the mission, but innovating the methods, and innovating both the products and innovating our marketing as well. And I think anybody who wants to be in this business who isn't continually saying that didn't work, scrap it, or that used to work, it doesn't work, try this now, you're not going to be around. And so we've been constantly at Sounds True, constantly recreating ourselves. And I think those publishers who said, oh my God, we're being disintermediated, and people are going direct to Amazon to get their books printed. They don't need publishers anymore. And there's been a lot of scare within the publishing industry about what's the value that a publisher brings in today's world. If you can go on Facebook, build your own audience, go on YouTube, you can print your own book easily and sell it. So many of the sales of a book are through Amazon. What's the point? And the question I would ask is, to any publishers, what's the value you're bringing? If you're not bringing value, you don't deserve to get paid, basically. So figure out a way to bring value. And if you're bringing a lot of value, you'll be successful. You'll be successful. And so questions that we've been asking at Sounds True, what's the value we're bringing? Well, obviously, like all publishers, we bring value in terms of helping an author have an incredibly beautiful cover and doing the editing and helping bring a resource to say, you could add this, you could change that, making the book be the best book it can be. So there's a creative partnership value that a publisher brings. But I think the biggest value that a publisher brings is marketing. We are the marketing partner. Do you have, author, 700,000 people on an email list who want to know about your work from a trusted name and from a brand that puts its imprimatura on you and takes you from someone who's, not that well known to someone who's being held up along with these other luminaries? That's huge value. So I think that's part of it, is always finding, no matter what's happening in the industry as a whole, what's the value that we can contribute. Now, part of this whole thing about what's the value we can contribute brought me to launch a podcast. And so I host a podcast that has between 2 and 3 million downloads a year, actually. And every person who publishes a book or a new audio program with Sounds True, if they're a new author for us, I do an hour-long interview with them. And the interviews are available both at soundstrue.com and also through iTunes. And once again, this is one of those things that makes me happy for a lot of reasons. It makes me happy because the podcast is free. Yay! I don't have to have bonus gifts. I don't have to do any selling. I can actually have a really interesting conversation with someone and bring out something that they have to say that will be genuinely helpful to people. And it's a gift. It's Sounds True's gift. And at the same time, I know that we're introducing our audience worldwide to authors they never would have heard of, and that those people are now turning into book buyers. And it also helps us bring new authors in to say, you're going to be part of this very successful podcast, and Tami's going to interview you, et cetera. I mean, the other thing, quite honestly, in terms of a gift of the podcast, is it's helped me learn. And it helps me know, after I talk to an author, I'm like, God, we really need to do this other project with this person. We should do an additional audio series on this, or we should do a journey on that, or a course on that. Because as the company's grown, I don't have the same level of contact sometimes with authors as they're coming into the process. But in order to do my podcast with them, I have to prepare, I have to really get familiar, and then I have to have a real one-to-one meeting with them. So it's also, and it's helped me stay really close to the field and close to what's happening. So there's a lot of benefits, but it's also an innovation from a marketing perspective that has been, I think, very successful at Sounds True, that fits this multiple bottom lines. And I think this is the last thing I'm going to talk about, and then I'll open it up and see, of all the things I've said, what questions might be here and what you really want to talk about. Because I'm guessing what you might want to talk about. I said to my wife, I think it was just this morning, I said to her, I forgot to tell you, but I'm going to go give this talk tonight at Boulder Digital Arts, so I won't be home, blah, blah, blah. And she said, you're giving a talk at Boulder Digital Arts? She's like, I had to help you download an app the other day. And she's like, you're not qualified. And I said, well, I'm not talking about the technology side of anything. I'm talking from more of the business side. And the content side. And I would say when it comes to Sounds True, there's also the culture building side. And I don't know how interesting that is to you, but it's a big part of what I do every day, is steward a culture, a business, a for-profit business culture that stands for something different in the world and is doing something different day to day. And it's something really dear to my heart. So I'm going to end by talking about that, and then we'll open it up and hear what is actually interesting to you, and hopefully we'll not have any technological questions, or I'll give you vague, weird answers. But from the very beginning at Sounds True, and this is really staying true to who we are, what it means to me to stay true, I identified, and then it became part of our you could say, our business steering wheel, how we steer our business, is that we have 3 bottom lines, and that we're always managing as a group to these 3 bottom lines. And this was before people started talking about person, people, and profit, and planet, and whatever the bottom lines are that are now part of the group discourse. This was just something that kind of came out of me very organically. And it was, okay, because here I am at the beginning, I'm 22 years old, and I truly do not know what I'm doing, truly. Now I can say things like we're experimenting, but then it was, we're innovating. Then it was just like, what the hell are we doing? It's much more very open-ended. But I thought there are 3 things that I'm committed to, that I'm going to do. And the first is what we just really simply call being true to our mission, which is we are going to put out spiritual teachings that really change people's lives, that really help people. So we're not going to get seduced by the new fad of manifesting from whatever, or whatever new spiritual fad there might be. Fad is a derogatory term, which is why I'm using it. There, of course, can be new expressions that are helpful for people, but that we're going to always stay true to our mission, which means that life is complicated and difficult and challenging, even during the best of times, and we're not going to make the spiritual path look any easier than it actually is. We're going to tell people the truth about the rigors of opening your heart to every bit of life and pain that we're connected to as people. We're going to tell people the truth. We're not going to sell people short. We're going to be true to our mission of what real spiritual wisdom, what the mystics have stood for century upon century upon century and gave their lives to. So it's like, okay, great. Tami, soapbox over there for a moment, and the mission. She's going to stay true to that no matter what. And we've never had to compromise it in 31 and a half years. And quite honestly, we won't, and we don't have to. We have 100 people working at the company. I don't care if we grow to have 1,000. I don't care if we shrink and it's just me. I mean, I care, but what I'm saying is I don't care enough to compromise that. That comes first. Okay, here's the second thing, which is also not compromisable at Sounds True, how we treat each other. And sometimes we call this bottom line our love bottom line, or our groovy workplace bottom line. There's a lot of ways to describe it, but it really just comes down to the quality of our relationships with each other. And that's not just the people who work at the company, it's the relationships with the authors. For me, it's also, believe it or not, the relationships with the ideas, the actual ideas that we're in partnership, to me, with some of the most important, they're almost like platonic ideals to me or something, and so we're going to do them justice. We're going to treat them beautifully. We're in relationship, of course, with all of our vendors, so we're not going to squeeze to get the best deal. We're going to try to come up with something that's reasonable and fair for both parties. Obviously, we're in relationship with our customers, so we're going to give our customers great value. We're going to listen to their feedback. If they want their money back because they didn't like it, we're not going to make it hard. We're going to make it easy for them to get their money back. We don't want their money if they don't want us to have them. So we're going to honor the relationships, which really are the totality of the ecosystem of the business. That's what I think a business is. It's this network of relationships and exchanges. And we've really dedicated ourselves, it sounds true, to learning how to have difficult conversations with each other. And it's hard. To forgiving each other, for apologizing, for learning to have clear boundaries. I mean, we've tried to create a culture of personal growth. And I keep bringing it back again and again and again because it's something that's so important to me. So important to me. And it's important to me because I go to work every day and I'm growing, God willing, and I want to keep growing. And I want to work in a community of people who are doing the same. And to me, that is a bottom line. And these 3 bottom lines, the first, the mission, and this one, they coexist. Like, I need all of them or I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. So that's our second bottom line. And again, it's not negotiable. It's not negotiable. We went through 2 rounds of layoffs back in 1999, 2000 for various reasons. It was hard. I owed a lot of people some apologies. We overhired, overexpanded before we had some good business planning in place, and then we had to contract. But it doesn't, so I guess what I'm saying is it doesn't mean you don't screw up. I can give you we don't have enough time for me to start telling you about all the screw-ups. You know, I mean, people make mistakes of all kinds, and even, you know, people whose feelings I've hurt. And I've had to really come back and own that there was, I was off, or I wasn't thinking, or, yeah. And, you know, and really apologize. So I'm not trying to paint this in some kind of Pollyanna way. I hope you don't see it that way. It's a personal growth incubator, but we're working on it. So that's our second bottom line. And there's a lot to say, not just about the personal growth side, but about having a groovy workplace. There's so much to say. And Sounds True it's incredibly groovy. And what I mean by that is, oh God, I mean, people can come up with, we have art salons, we have the chili cook-off, we have pajama day once a year. I can go on and on about what, you know, right now people are forming their social action progressive discussion groups. I mean, people, you can do what you want there to make the community a community that is a place for you. You have to step forward, ask for it, and we support it. So there's a lot to say about that. But let's move on. The third bottom line is we create cash. We're profitable. We make money. And what I say to people is that these first two bottom lines, being true to this mission and having this groovy workplace where we can grow, we don't get to have them unless we also perform on this third bottom line. But the interesting thing about the third bottom line is the one bottom line that's pretty, there's a big range there. We can be very profitable, and there are years when we have been, and there have been years actually where we've lost money. Now that can't happen year after year after year. So, you know, if you lose money in a year, well, the next year, you know, has to come back around. But there's room there to actually work within, there's range. That's the one actually for me that has the most range in it. But over time and over the average, over a period of years, yeah, we have to be profitable, we have to making cash. You know, it's really simple. I heard this phrase once, no margin, no mission. And, you know, or another way of thinking about it is the cash is like the oxygen that fills the whole system so that, you know, we can breathe and succeed and fulfill our mission and relate to each other in a way that creates love. Okay, well, thanks everybody. Thank you. Thank you.